Battle through the heavens, grand world. Chapter 256. Don't be too proud. Familiar. Xiao Yan shook his head when he heard that. He still did not know what the true form of the Xiaoao was. Even if it was like the Xiaoao itself, it was still vague and unclear. However, he thought that it should be an existence similar to the holy beast. Zhu Kun's ki and blood could make the Xiaoao feel familiar. Perhaps, Zhu Kun, this guy may be a descendant of the dark flame ancient dragon. Xiao Yan stopped thinking about it after failing to come up with a solution. He raised his head and unleashed his soul energy from between his brows. In an instant, it covered the area below him and carefully sensed the fluctuation of Guyuan's aura. Don't act recklessly anymore. We are now a whole, any one of you can cause the rest of the team to be implicated. Looking at the few students in front of him, Guyuan's expression was cold. His eyes were intentionally or unintentionally looking at Li Yan, who was standing beside him. The latter's face was cold, as if he had been implicated. Also, I say, all of you are considered geniuses in your own family, but don't be too arrogant here. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. All of a sudden, Guyuan's voice was as cold as ice. A cold aura spread out and filled the entire area, causing the hearts of all the students in front of them to tremble. Each of these new students was more arrogant than the last. They thought that by relying on their talent in the family, they could act recklessly. When they first arrived in Capital of Chaos, the capricious behavior of these students had caused the team to fall into a difficult situation many times. Unexpectedly, not only did these guys not learn their lesson, but they had also lost a student in the battle with Wu Shiwen. Seeing Guyuan looking at him, Li Yan gritted his teeth and sneered, "What a joke. A genius will come to Yunluo Academy. If it wasn't because of various reasons, who would come here? It doesn't matter if this kind of trash is dead or not. We can only blame them for their incompetence." After hearing Li Yan's words, the expressions of the other students changed slightly. They looked at the former with some fear and no longer spoke. When Guyuan heard this, he looked at Li Yan with a cold gaze. When the latter saw this, he hurriedly lowered his head and did not dare to look directly at Guyuan. "Don't be too arrogant." After a long while, Guyuan gently spat out a few words. Just as he was about to get up, his expression suddenly changed. His feet suddenly stomped on the ground and his body bounced away like a cannonball. At almost the same time, a sharp light rushed over and hit the spot where Guyuan was previously standing, creating a huge crater. Emperor. Seeing such a powerful destructive force, Guyuan furrowed his brows and leapt into the air. Just as he was about to land, a rushing wind sound suddenly sounded. A sharp sword with a cold light pierced through the air. In a split second, it was already close to Guyuan's neck. Guyuan, who was in mid-air, could not dodge in time. He saw that the sharp sword was right in front of him. Guyuan's eyes suddenly focused. A biting cold ki instantly broke out of his body. It turned into a strong ki, causing the sword's speed to slow down. Taking advantage of this period of time, Guyuan's figure flashed. He landed steadily on the ground. At the same time, a 9-segmented bamboo cane had already appeared in his hand. The bamboo cane was verdant and glistening. Spiritual light flickered and it was as thick as a small wrist. It was extremely exquisite. He really has some skill. A monarch spirit actually managed to dodge our attack. Young Master Li Yan, you're not injured, right? At the same time that Guyuan landed on the ground, two figures landed not far away from him. From the fluctuations of their auras, it was clear that they were two emperor-level experts. Guyuan's expression was cold. He lifted his head and looked over. The two people who had attacked him were both dressed in fine clothes that were extremely exquisite. There was an azure sun embroidered on their fine clothes. Upon closer inspection, there was a faint glow on the fine clothes, causing them to be completely spotless. Kandri Group, Guyuan said in a cold tone when he saw the clothes of the two people. Although the Kandri Group was ranked in the top 50 among the chaotic crowd, they couldn't be underestimated. The strength of the Kandri Group was also astonishing, and they could be considered a formidable force. The Yunluo Academy didn't have many interactions with the Kandri Group in the past, but today, they had encountered them. Young Master. Guyuan, who had just regained his senses, narrowed his eyes when he heard this. After that, he let out a cold laugh, as if he understood what was going on. I was just wondering, it turns out that there is a young master from the Kangri group in our team. No wonder he was targeted. Veins popped out on Li Yan's forehead when he heard this. He paused for a moment before saying in a gloomy tone, Guyuan, I have tolerated you for a long time. Since you have the intention to kill me, I will not let you go back. Li Yan turned around and looked at the students next to him. He smiled hideously. Of course, there are also them. None of them can escape. All of the students turned pale with fright when they heard this. They hurriedly looked at Guyuan, whose eyes were filled with pleading gazes. The latter was their only life-saving straw. Two emperors, Li Yan, are you sure you can eat me? The 9-joint bamboo staff in his hand suddenly stood on the ground. Guyuan didn't have the slightest fear. On the contrary, there was a trace of excitement in his eyes. Ever since he had advanced to the 5th Dao monarch spirit, he hadn't used his full strength to fight. Now, facing two emperors, he could enjoy himself to his heart's content. You're still so stubborn even in the face of death. Li Yan's expression was cold. He glanced at the two men in luxurious clothes standing in front of him and scolded, Go, no matter what, we have to kill him. After this, I will explain to my brother and ask him to reward you properly. After hearing Li Yan's words, the two men smiled coldly and nodded their heads obediently. Although the former's strength was not worth mentioning, his elder brother was a figure with a great reputation in the fierce ranking. He was also one of the higher-ups in the Kangri group's decision-making circle. To them, obtaining the latter's reward was great news. Boom! The two of them moved almost at the same time. Like two flowing lights, they shot towards Guyuan. From their actions, it was obvious that the two of them had cooperated many times. Kai! The sharp sword slashed down horizontally. Guyuan did not dodge. He suddenly raised the 9 segments bamboo cane in his hand. Green spiritual light flashed and wrapped around it. The 9 segments of the bamboo cane suddenly shone brightly. It swallowed all the sharp blades that the sharp sword swept past. With the help of the force of the sharp sword, Guyuan's body flashed and narrowly avoided the attack of another person. Your speed is not bad. Seeing that the attack had missed again, the person who came was obviously stunned. After that, he let out a cold snort. He nodded at the middle-aged man with the sharp sword in his hand. Then, the Origin Monarch key on his palm started to surge crazily, causing the air to buzz. Myriad Spirit Astral Slash. As he roared in his heart, in the next moment, the Origin Monarch key that filled the sky seemed to transform into numerous green astral blades. It was as if there were billions of them, all of them shooting towards Guyuan, blocking his path. Hee, it's Big Brother's ultimate move. I never thought that Big Brother would value these two so much. He even gave this monarch spell to them. Seeing their attacks becoming fiercer, Li Yan couldn't help but reveal a smile on his face. Guyuan was indeed powerful. However, he was only a monarch spirit after all. Under the circumstances of an emperor using all his strength, he would only be defeated. I have to kill all of them. Otherwise, the crime of colluding with the capital of chaos will be found out. With the disposition of those elders in the academy, I reckon that they will implicate the Kangri group. Thinking of this, Li Yan cast his gaze towards the few students not far away. These guys were merely imperial warriors, while he had already advanced to the sovereign master realm. Looking at the battle in front of him, Guyuan was actually engaged in a fierce battle with two imperial lords, without showing any signs of being defeated. Li Yan's face turned gloomy when he saw this. It seemed like he had underestimated this guy. How could a 5th Dao monarch spirit be so powerful? No matter how powerful you are, you will still die in the end. Li Yan coldly harumphed. Without any hesitation, he dashed towards the nearby students. Since that was the case, he would kill them all. Battle through the heavens, Grand World. Chapter 257. They had arrived. Su. A green ray of light suddenly shot over. When Li Yan heard the sound of breaking through the air, cold sweat instantly flowed down his back. He hurriedly stopped his advance. Almost at the same time, the green ray of light fell in front of him, less than an inch away. When the light scattered, it was the 9 segments bamboo cane that Guyuan was holding. Sensing the power circulating on the 9-joint bamboo staff, Li Yan's face turned pale. If he had been hit by this thing, he would have died a long time ago. Arrogant. When he saw Guyuan being attacked by the two of them, When they still had time to pay attention to their surroundings, the faces of the two experts from the Kandri group changed. This was a direct slap to their faces. As his voice faded, one of the men struck out with a single palm. Dense origin monarch ki curled around it, carrying a crushing force as it ruthlessly smashed towards them. The other man naturally wouldn't let go of this gap. Taking advantage of the moment when Guyuan brandished the 9 segments of the bamboo cane, the sharp sword in his hand flickered with a bright light. Visible ripples swept out, causing the air to buzz. Its power was obviously not ordinary. Being pressured by the two emperors, Guyuan also felt some pressure. However, his many years of combat experience was extremely rich. When the two of them attacked one after another, Guyuan's body suddenly turned in the air, using an extremely strange movement technique. He dodged the sword ki ripples that came from the air. Although his shoulder was still hit by one of the men's palms, however, he managed to dodge the attack. Kai. Guyuan's figure was like a bolt of lightning. After dodging, he landed on the ground. The clothes on his shoulder had already been torn apart, revealing a purple color. This fellow actually used his body to resist my Python Yuan palm. Seeing Guyuan using his physical body to resist his monarch spell and only suffered a slight injury, the emperor's facial expression changed. He found it hard to believe that a monarch spirit's physical body could be this powerful. It doesn't matter. His breathing has become rapid. It's only a matter of time before I kill him. After Guyuan dodged the attack, the emperor, who was holding the long sword, swept his sharp eyes over to Guyuan and said in a cold voice. After all, he was only a monarch spirit warrior. No matter how strong he was, the origin monarch ki in his body was not enough for him to squander freely. While the two of them were talking in low voices, their speed was not slow at all. They continued to push forward, causing Guyuan to have no time to care about them. He could only try his best to dodge, waiting for an opportunity to counterattack. If there was only one emperor, with his strength, victory was easy, and he could even kill him. But facing two emperors who had a tacit understanding, even if it was him, he could only fight while retreating. Moreover, he had to pay attention to Li Yan's movements. The new students were completely scared out of their wits at that moment. With their strength, which was only at the Imperial Emperor or Fighting Emperor level, they had long been intimidated by the auras emitted by these two emperors. While defending against the opponents in front of him, he still needed to be distracted to pay attention to those students. At this moment, Guyuan was extremely aggrieved. Very quickly, he was at a disadvantage under the combined attacks of these two emperors. Xiao Yan, there seems to be someone in the east. The Xiaoao's voice sounded once again. Xiao Yan helplessly nodded his head. Along the way, he had encountered many battles. Every time, Xiao Yan would rush over in excitement. However, it wasn't Guyuan. Being attracted by all kinds of ki, Xiao Yan's speed had slowed down a lot. He had also consumed a lot of fire wing pills, causing his heart to ache. Fire wing pills were good things to protect one's life. Now, he had already consumed 3 of them before even meeting Guyuan. Even Xiao Yan gritted his teeth and swallowed them. Let's go and take a look. Although he felt sorry for the consumption of fire wing pills, Xiao Yan did not lose any chance. Immediately, the illusionary fire wings on his back vibrated. Xiao Yan had already turned into a ray of light and rushed in the direction he had sensed. Kai. Li Yan attacked with a cold smile. A student, who could not dodge in time, widened his eyes. Blood flowed out from his neck. The color in his eyes instantly turned into dead ashes. His body suddenly fell to the ground, and he no longer had any breath. Bastard. Seeing Li Yan kill another student, Guyuan's eyes turned red, and the killing intent in his heart had already soared to the sky. He had repeatedly tried to rush forward to kill Li Yan, but he was tied up by 2 emperors. There was nothing he could do about it. Guyuan, you should worry about yourself. You will be back soon to accompany them. Li Yan smiled coldly and looked at the remaining 4 students. The sneer on his face became even more intense. It had been since he was a child. He had witnessed the slaughter in Capital of Chaos, and after he became the young master of Kandri Group. He had killed countless people, and compared to him, these geniuses who had grown up under the protection of their families were like sheep waiting to be slaughtered. If they died, so be it. Let's join hands and kill him. The remaining 4 students watched their comrades die one after another in Li Yan's hands. The fury in their hearts finally ignited, suppressing the fear in their hearts. Their bodies were covered in origin monarch ki as they rushed towards Li Yan. In an instant, 4 different ki of different strengths and weaknesses came rushing at them, causing Li Yan to frown. These guys were all outstanding people from their respective families. Although they were only imperial warriors, when they joined hands, even Li Yan was extremely afraid. You want to join forces? Li Yan coldly harumphed. His rich experience in Capital of Chaos had taught him the best way to break people's hearts. Dong. Before the 4 of them could rush over, Li Yan took the first step and rushed into the middle of the 4 of them. The origin monarch ki surged wildly. He used all his strength, and with a single punch, he sent the weakest of the 4 of them flying. Seeing Li Yan knock down one of them with a single punch, the remaining 3 were startled. They subconsciously withdrew their fists and stared at Li Yan with eyes that were once again filled with fear. One punch pushed back the enemy who was close to him. Guyuan's chest was also hit hard, and he was forced to take a few steps back. At this moment, Guyuan's face was somewhat pale, and the origin monarch ki in his body was scarce, causing him to faintly feel a trace of exhaustion. Although Guyuan was seriously injured, his opponent was also in a sorry state. Under Guyuan's rich combat experience, the 2 of them were not as calm as before. You are only a monarch spirit now, but you are already so strong. When you break through to the monarch emperor in the future, the Yunluo Academy will have another monstrous genius like Muyuyang. The pain coming from his right arm caused the sword-wielding monarch to suck in a breath of cold air. He looked at Guyuan and said in a cold voice. This guy had given them a huge shock. The 2 emperors had tried their best, but they were still unable to do anything to the former. Then we must not let him go. Otherwise, it will be a disaster for Kangri Group in the future. The other emperor was shocked when he heard this. He had long heard of Muyuyang's reputation. If this guy really became an expert like Muyuyang in the future, it would be the Kangri Group's turn. Hong Long, we can't let this guy live. Both of them felt a chill in their hearts. They let out a loud shout and rushed towards Guyuan. Their killing intent soared into the sky. Guyuan gritted his teeth. With his current condition, it was impossible for him to defeat these 2 guys. However, he had to at least let them know what pain was. Guyuan clenched his fists tightly. The few origin monarch ki in his body began to flow rapidly, and he was about to charge forward. Father, you can rest. Leave these 2 fellows to me. Just as Guyuan was about to attack, a faint voice suddenly sounded. Then, Guyuan's eyes flashed, and he was shocked to find that the 2 emperors who had been charging at him in an aggressive manner had been sent flying while screaming. Battle through the heavens, Grand World. Chapter 258. It was a crushing blow. You are Xiao Yan. Guyuan was slightly startled when he heard the name that he had not heard for a long time. After that, he looked at the black-robed young man in front of him in shock. It's me. Xiao Yan turned around and looked at Guyuan. He revealed a smile that came from the bottom of his heart. Guyuan's strength was obvious to the latter. 5 monarch spirit warriors was not much different from Zhu Kun. Be careful, the opponent is an emperor. Guyuan couldn't help but remind Xiao Yan when he regained his senses. Although he was shocked by Xiao Yan's ability to send the 2 of them flying, if they really fought face to face, with Xiao Yan's monarch spirit strength, he would still suffer a great loss. Don't worry. Xiao Yan looked at the 2 men in the distance with an indifferent gaze. He couldn't help but grin. It was another emperor. He had fought with an emperor when he first met Zhu Kun, but this time, these 2 men were obviously weaker than Luo Chong. As he spoke, Xiao Yan extended one of his hands. As he clenched his hand, the blue flame ruler appeared in his hand. The crimson gold flame on the ruler was slowly burning. Upon closer inspection, one could see that as the flame burned, the air was distorted. This is a profound heavy ruler. When he saw the weapon that Xiao Yan had taken out, Guyuan was slightly stunned. This thing gave him a vague and difficult feeling. Who are you? After being sent flying by the sudden appearance of Xiao Yan, the 2 emperors of Kangri Group quickly regained their senses. Their bodies landed steadily on the ground. Enduring the burning pain on their bodies, they stared at Xiao Yan's face and said in a cold voice. On the side, Li Yan also had an ugly expression on his face as he looked at Xiao Yan who had suddenly appeared. He didn't want to see any unexpected incidents happening at this moment. A student of the Yunluo Academy, Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan looked at Li Yan who was standing at the side, then looked at the two emperors in the distance and said in a loud voice. Yunluo Academy. Hearing Xiao Yan's words, the faces of the two emperors from the Kandri group turned slightly gloomy, but they immediately let out a cold snort. They had never heard of Xiao Yan's name on the Yunluo ranking. Another one who is seeking death. Their eyes were fixed on Xiao Yan. One of the emperors smiled coldly. He stomped his foot on the ground and his body shot out like a shooting star. His 5 fingers turned into claws and tore through the air, heading straight for Xiao Yan's chest. Guyuan frowned when he sensed the attack of the enemy. He was just about to remind Xiao Yan to dodge when he lifted his head and saw the latter's calm face. Guyuan opened his mouth and swallowed the words that he was about to say. Buzz. The moment the former approached, Xiao Yan suddenly moved. His body moved like a bolt of lightning. The blue flame ruler in his hand was like a golden ray of light. He waved it in an instant, shattering the space and headed straight for the former. Xiao Yan's control of his strength was exceptionally ingenious. It was precisely the moment when the former's impact had reached its weakest point. The surface of the blue flame ruler's ruler was swiftly magnified in his eyes. In the next moment, a miserable cry of pain resounded by everyone's ears. The elite emperor, who had been flaunting his strength earlier, was sent flying like a cannonball. Fresh blood scattered across the air. Li Yan's heart, which had just calmed down, was lifted when this emperor was sent flying. He stared at the indifferent Xiao Yan with a stunned expression. The latter held the blue flame ruler tightly with one hand. It appeared that he had merely waved his hand and sent the enemy flying. How is this possible? Li Yan's expression changed wildly. His eyes flickered as he quickly thought about how to escape. You want to run. Just as this thought rose in Li Yan's mind, Guyuan's voice suddenly sounded beside him. Before the former could react, Guyuan's palm was already placed on his neck. His 5 fingers were tightly clenched, causing Li Yan to instantly feel the taste of death. After grasping Li Yan in his palm, Guyuan lifted his head and looked at Xiao Yan. At this moment, Xiao Yan took the initiative to charge forward. The crimson gold flame on the ruler in his hand soared into the sky. There seemed to be a lightning glow visible to the naked eye surging on it. As the lightning glow flickered, the space quietly trembled. How is this possible? The only remaining emperor had an ugly expression on his face. Under Xiao Yan's attack, he actually felt a trace of fear. Long river setting sun. In a moment of crisis, the emperor could not care less. His long sword started to swing rapidly in his hand. Like a phantom, the blade of the sword surged like a silver river. The winding river and setting sun was a sword technique of the Kandri group, the secret arts. Its power was not to be trifled with. The silver river surged, and waves rose and fell. Following the direction of the river, a long sword suddenly appeared, as if it had cut open a sun. It roared with great power, and a crack appeared on the ground. 8-directional thunder ruler. Xiao Yan was not afraid at all. The blue flame ruler in his hand suddenly swung down. In an instant, it was as if thunder had appeared on the ground. Numerous lightning dragons roared and roared. In an instant, they covered the sword light that was rushing over. Accompanied by the sound of thunder that caused one's heart to palpitate, the originally majestic sword light had quietly vanished. Woo! The attack was forcefully cancelled out. The emperor from the Kandri group turned pale. The qi and blood in his body was rolling, causing his meridians to ache. After that, under Guyuan's shocked gaze, Xiao Yan lunged forward. With just a single palm strike, he sent the enemy flying, causing him to cough up blood and retreat. He's dead. Seeing that the two of them hadn't gotten up for a long time, Guyuan couldn't help but let out a breath. His eyes were filled with astonishment as he looked at Xiao Yan. How could this guy be so strong? After quickly killing the two emperors, Xiao Yan shook his head. These two were merely newly ascended emperors. The combined strength of the two of them was not even comparable to Yin Kang's. It was really easy for them to deal with them. If Guyuan wasn't distracted, even if he couldn't kill the two of them, it wouldn't be a problem for him to remain uninjured. You brat. He looked at Xiao Yan with a complicated expression. Guyuan let out a long sigh. In the end, all his words turned into a silent sigh. He stretched out his hand and patted Xiao Yan's shoulder a few times. It's good that you are here. You don't know how much Xuan and the others missed you in the beginning. Hearing Guyuan's sigh, Xiao Yan pursed his lips. His expression became gloomy. He also missed them deeply, but luckily, he would be able to see them soon. All these years of hard work, it was finally time for him to get something in return. What should I do with this guy? Xiao Yan recovered his senses and looked at Li Yan, who was beside him. The latter's performance just now had also caused him to be quite surprised. That kind of sharp method and cruel character was completely not inferior to any ambitious person. At this moment, the latter's face was pale and his forehead was covered with sweat. Following the death of the two helpers, the luster in his eyes instantly dimmed. After killing so many students, there will only be death wherever I go. When Guyuan heard this, he coldly glanced at Li Yan and spoke in a deep voice. His cold voice directly announced the fate of the latter. After listening to Guyuan's cold words, Li Yan's body softened. His eyes stared blankly at the ground as he sat down on the ground. The originally great situation had suddenly collapsed. This was an outcome that he couldn't accept no matter what. Killed him. Xiao Yan was silent for a moment after hearing this. Then, he suddenly smiled, and his eyes began to shine brightly as he looked at Li Yan. It's a pity to kill him just like that. Isn't he the young master of Kandri Group? Perhaps, we can use him to have some fun with Kandri Group. Battle Through the Heavens, Grand World. Chapter 259 Last Crazy One. What? Hearing Xiao Yan's words, Guyuan was stunned for a moment, then immediately shook his head and said, impossible. Although the Kandri Group is ranked below the top 50 of the chaotic 100 sects, they are still very powerful. With your strength, it is absolutely impossible for you to uproot the entire Kandri Group. Xiao Yan nodded and said with a smile. Father, don't worry. I naturally know about this. I want to know about the people of Kandri Group were ranked on the fierce ranking of the Yunluo Academy. Guyuan's eyes sparkled. After that, he couldn't help but laugh. He looked at Li Yan, who was sitting on the ground with a limp body, and said in a low voice. If his brother was an important member of Kandri Group, then there was a man named Li Yan on the fierce ranking. He was ranked over 100, and his strength was about the emperor level. Li Yan. Xiao Yan nodded. This guy's strength is at the emperor level, so it's understandable for him to be ranked in the top 100. I know your character very well. I won't stop you. This bastard has killed so many students. If it wasn't for the fact that he wants to escort the rest of the students back to the academy, I would like to make a trip to the Kandri Group with you. Guyuan shrugged his shoulders and sighed. Xiao Yan smiled when he heard this. The spirit in his eyes gradually condensed. With your strength, it shouldn't be difficult for you to deal with Li Yan. However, the leader of the Kandri Group is as strong as a monarch emperor. If you encounter him, you must flee immediately. Guyuan's eyes were quite sharp. He gave Xiao Yan a few glances before he roughly understood the latter's strength. Immediately, he reminded Xiao Yan in detail. Monarch Emperor. Xiao Yan smiled and nodded. His heart involuntarily revealed some warmth when he heard Guyuan's concerned words. The reason why the academy produced a fierce ranking is also a way to motivate the students. Anyone who can kill anyone on the ranking will receive a huge reward. Of course, for those who have different strength, the person they want to kill will also be different. After exhorting, Guyuan paused for a moment before saying, we are now inner court students. If we want to obtain a reward, we must kill those ranked within the top 300. Other than those ranked within the top 300, we will not receive any reward. Xiao Yan was stunned for a moment, then he nodded his head in understanding. This was a good idea, as it was to resist those ranked lower than the top to get a reward. There is a soaring dragon ranking in the inner sect. It listed the strength of all inner sect disciples, and the number 1 expert. I heard that a few months ago, he killed the 112th Emperor level expert of the fierce ranking. I heard that the Emperor level expert was even stronger than a Monarch Emperor expert, but he was still killed by him with ease. Shaking his head, Guyuan couldn't help but sigh. He really is a crouching tiger and a hidden dragon. Xiao Yan also nodded his head with emotion. As one of the 4 big academies in the star domain, the Yunluo Academy did not only rely on the peerless geniuses of the realm in Valley, but also the core forces of the inner circle. This guy, I'll take him away first. Xiao Yan lifted Li Yan, who was almost paralyzed on the ground, and swallowed a fire wings pill. Under Guyuan's shocked gaze, Xiao Yan had already soared into the sky and rushed towards the outer circle. Origin. Origin. Ki turning into wings. Seeing Xiao Yan flying into the sky, the remaining few students were stunned. For a moment, they had actually forgotten all their fear. Gu Yuan's brows were tightly knitted. It was a long time before he finally laughed softly. He did not know what this fellow had experienced in these few years. There were quite a number of good things. He could even possess something that could transform into a fire wings. Swoosh! It was as though a fiery light had shot across the sky. Within the fiery light, Xiao Yan inhaled a deep breath of air. His face was also a little pale. Using fire wings to transform into Origin Monarch Ki to fly for a long period of time was still too consuming of Origin Monarch Ki for him. The fire wings on his back gradually scattered. Xiao Yan's body also slowly descended. He steadily landed on a huge rock. He glanced at the unconscious Li Yan. Xiao Yan shook his head and threw him onto the ground. The immense pain caused Li Yan to cry out in pain. He opened his eyes and saw Xiao Yan. At first, he was stunned, then his face turned pale. He looked at the latter with fear. 2 Emperor-level experts had been killed by him. With his tiny bit of strength, he was no match for Xiao Yan. Tell me the details of the Kandri group. Xiao Yan looked at Li Yan with a smile that was not a smile and said faintly. I don't know. Li Yan swallowed a mouthful of saliva when he heard that and said in a trembling voice. Cold sweat broke out on his back. Swish! Xiao Yan's icy cold eyes swept over before he could finish speaking. They were like 2 sharp blades that pierced towards Li Yan's body, causing him to tremble. That cold aura caused his breathing to become sluggish. Do you want to die? His indifferent voice sounded like a thunderclap in Li Yan's ears. The coldness in his voice was even greater than his elder brother's. I have been away from the Kandri group for many days. I don't know the exact situation inside. Li Yan sounded like he was about to cry. In the end, he was just a teenager. In the face of Xiao Yan's aggressive aura, fear had finally occupied his heart. That's not necessary. You just need to tell me the strength of the experts of Kandri group. When the time comes, I will bring you there. As long as I have the ability to deal with them, you will be fine. Xiao Yan immediately smiled when he heard this. He looked at Li Yan, his eyes flashing with the color of an elite. Li Yan was stunned when he heard Xiao Yan's words. He was also complaining in his heart. He wanted to reduce the strength of the Kandri group. If he let Xiao Yan go, he would be killed by the experts of the Kandri group, but when he said this, he wouldn't dare to take such a risk. If Xiao Yan had the ability to deal with him, he would be fine. In other words, if Xiao Yan was deceived by him, dealing with the experts of Kandri group was no match for him. The first one to die would be him. Kandri group. I don't know the strength of the sect master. I heard from my brother that there are a few monarch emperor and above warriors in the Kandri group. As for the emperors, I estimate that there are more than 10 of them. Clenching his teeth, Li Yan still told Xiao Yan everything he knew. Under the attack of Xiao Yan's imposing manner, he was trembling all over. After listening to Li Yan's words, Xiao Yan frowned slightly. The Kandri group's strength was not even in the top 50 of the chaotic crowd. They actually had such strength. Although it might be exaggerated, it couldn't be underestimated. It seemed like every major power in the chaotic 100 sects couldn't be underestimated. With his current strength, he really didn't have the ability to fight a major power alone. I heard from that Luo Xing from the Silver Moon group that Xiao Yi killed a gang all by himself. In other words, he has killed at least 1 monarch emperor. This guy is terrifyingly strong. After pondering for a moment, Xiao Yan looked at Li Yan. Suddenly, he let out a soft laugh and struck Li Yan's neck with his hand blade at lightning speed. The latter's vision turned black, and he had completely fainted. You should sleep here for a few days. If you are lucky, you might be able to survive. Xiao Yan glanced at the unconscious Li Yan without any expression. In a flash, he had already left the place. This fellow was young and ruthless. He had killed several of his companions. This kind of person was just like what Guyuan had said. No matter where he was, he would be a piece of trash that people would despise. He would just leave him here to fend for himself. Next up is the Kandri group. Before entering the academy, let's go crazy. This will not tarnish the reputation of the saint-rank trial participant. Xiao Yan's figure sped through the mountain forest. His eyes were firm. There was a raging flame burning within. In his mind, Mu Yuyong, whom he had talked about with Zhu Kun, appeared. That fellow was also a Saint rank trial participant. For some reason, Xiao Yan always had a crazy mentality of wanting to compete with one of them. They were both Saint rank trial participant. This kind of feeling was probably a feeling of hunting for prey, even if the other party was an immortal. Battle Through the Heavens, Grand World. Chapter 260 Despicable. The Kandri group was located in the western capital's Green Sun City. As one of the most chaotic people in the city, it used its absolute power to intimidate the people around it. On top of the fierce ranking, there were only 2 people from the Kandri group who had entered the top 100. After all, those who were able to enter the top 100 were not to be underestimated. All of them were experts above the Monarch Emperor. Those below the Monarch Emperor, they simply didn't have the qualifications to enter the ranking. Of course, the fierce ranking was only ranked according to the students of the Yunluo Academy. Naturally, the ranking wouldn't reveal the overall strength of the capital of chaos. If the strongest monarch cultivation warriors were listed on the list, the fierce ranking would lose its significance. As a giant in Green Sun City, the Kandri group's influence in Green Sun City was naturally not something that could be summed up in a few simple buildings. Apart from the headquarters, there were also 3 branches. In the 4 directions of Green Sun City, this city was firmly controlled in his palm. Li Yan's elder brother, Li Yin, was one of the higher-ups of Kandri group. Naturally, his status was not to be trifled with. In one of the branches of Kandri group, he held the position of the leader. In a beautiful garden in the north of the city, it was one of the branches of the Kandri group. At this moment, a middle-aged man in a green robe was standing in front of a pavilion, looking at the clear lake water in front of him. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. There are still a few months left. It's the birthday of the sect master. What kind of big gift should we give this time? Although the middle-aged man looked old, he was only in his early 30s. He was Li Yan's elder brother, Li Yin. To be able to possess such strength at such a young age, his talent could be said to be the strongest in the Kandri group. Because of this, the sect master of the Kandri group, Shui Kanghai, intended to nurture Li Yin as his successor, and let him be the leader of a branch. Li Yin didn't disappoint the crowd. With his outstanding talent and ability to observe people's expressions, he was quickly praised by all the elders of the Kandri group. If nothing unexpected happened, the leader of the Kandri group would surely be Li Yin in a few years' time. Because of this, Li Yin had been paying close attention to the birthday of the sect master a few months later. He had been thinking about how to give Shui Kanghai a big gift that would brighten Shui Kanghai's eyes every day. "Master, I have a suggestion, but I don't know if you are interested." While Li Yin was sighing, one of the servants behind him suddenly said in a low voice. "Oh, tell me about it." Li Yin raised his eyebrows when he heard that. He turned around to look at the servants. These people were his trusted aides, so he naturally did not need to care about what he was avoiding. "I heard that the sect master has been in secluded cultivation for many days and has not come out. I wonder if Sir knows about the sect master's cultivation method." Li Yin pondered for a moment, then slowly said, "It doesn't matter. The sect master's cultivation technique is the dry blood spirit technique." The servant who had asked the question earlier chuckled upon hearing this. He respectfully said, "Dry blood spirit technique. I have also heard of this cultivation technique. It is extremely troublesome to cultivate it. Sect master has been in seclusion for these few days. He should be comprehending this cultivation technique." Li Yin was silent. He did not say anything. His gaze when looking at the servant who had spoken suddenly revealed a bright light. "I have heard of this before. What is the shortcut to cultivating this kind of cultivation technique? If master could tell sect master about the shortcuts, sect master would be excited by any big gift in the competition." Li Yin laughed when he heard that. The light in his eyes suddenly burst out. He strode forward and came in front of the servant. He said excitedly, "All right, tell me what method it is." The servant was delighted when he saw Li Yin's excited expression. He had read about this method in an ancient book once in a while, but it had been used one day. If Li Yin was loved by the sect master because of this, and Li Yin became the sect master of the Kandri group, his status would surely rise. "The method I know is to obtain the hearts of 100 virgins, extract the blood essence from them, and synthesize it into a blood pill. After consuming it, sect master can cultivate the dry blood spirit skill with twice the result with half the effort." When Li Yin heard this, he was stunned for a moment before he rejoiced. He originally thought that he would need some rare medicinal ingredients, but he did not expect it to be such a simple method. How should I refine that blood pill? After calming down, Li Yin looked at the servant in front of him and asked in a deep voice. As long as I extract the blood essence from my heart and refine the blood pill, I only need a single great alchemist to refine it. I don't need any external help. All right. Li Yin clenched his fists tightly, and the excitement in his eyes became even stronger. At that time, as long as he gave the blood pill out, no matter what kind of gift it was, it would be overshadowed. Someone, bring a few of your men and go to some villages outside the city. Within 3 days, I want to see 100. No, 200 hearts of virgins. After recovering his senses, Li Yin turned his head and spoke in a deep voice towards a distance. Just as his voice faded, a robust man responded and left. As he walked, he was vigorous and vigorous. Clearly, his strength was not ordinary. The hearts of those 200 girls are so good. It's this alchemist. Who should I look for? This news must not be leaked. When the time comes, we will give sect leader a big surprise. After the robust man left, Li Yin immediately smiled and clapped his hands. The worries in his heart for many days had finally been evacuated. In the capital of chaos, the people that were least lacking were people. It was a piece of cake for him to collect the hearts of 200 girls. Do you have any recommendations for an alchemist? Feeling better, Li Yin looked at his men with a smile. He also had the mood to joke with them. Why don't you let me help you? An icy cold voice was transmitted from a distance after Li Yin's voice sounded. It was mixed with the powerful voice of the origin monarch Qi, causing waves to rise on the surface of the lake. Swoosh! A miserable cry suddenly sounded at the same time that the icy cold voice sounded. Following which, the strong man, who had just left, flew backwards like a cannonball. He continuously spat out blood along the way and cried out miserably. Li Yin's eyes suddenly widened. As his mind raced, he coldly snorted and extended his hand in a lightning-like manner. He steadily caught the strong man, who was flying backwards. He glanced at the latter from the corner of his eyes. A cold glint suddenly flashed across his eyes when he saw that he was on the brink of death. He casually tossed him and threw him into the lake behind him, causing a couple of meters tall waves to splash. After throwing the strong man into the lake, Li Yin's expression was gloomy as he looked into the distance. At that spot, a black-robed young man was slowly walking over. His black robe was stained with a few shocking bloodstains. Who are you? Li Yin raised his eyelids slightly. His cold eyes were like a venomous snake, staring at Xiao Yan. This guy was able to kill a few people at the entrance without alerting him. He was afraid that Xiao Yan's strength wasn't any weaker than his. A few of Li Yin's trusted aides also took a step forward when they saw this. The qi in their bodies was as vast as the ocean, and it erupted from their bodies. Every single one of them had reached the peak of monarch spirit. You are Li Yin. Xiao Yan slowly walked in. He looked at the middle-aged man in green in the pavilion and smiled coldly. You two brothers, one killed your companions, and the other wanted to kill unarmed civilians. As expected, they are not good things. As he spoke, Xiao Yan's eyes were covered with layers of ice. Initially, he had no reason to target the Kandri group, but now it seemed like killing Li Yin was no longer a burden to him. How dare you? The servant who had suggested this to Li Yin was furious when he heard this. He furiously shouted and stomped on the ground with both of his feet. He had already rushed forward. Red light crazily circulated on both of his fists, tearing apart the air and bombarding him with a buzzing sound. Monarch spell, 4 killing fists. After the explosive roar sounded, the red light on his fist suddenly became even brighter. It was like 100,000 feet light. In an instant, it condensed into 4 sharp fist winds, rushing towards Xiao Yan with a threatening killing intent. Xiao Yan's face was expressionless. His indifferent eyes were as cold as ice as he stared at the man who was rushing towards him. Li Yin's expression was gloomy. He was also looking at his subordinate. Even a true emperor wouldn't dare to face this attack directly. It was obvious how strong this man was. Under the gaze of a few pairs of eyes, 4 gusts of wind were sent flying towards Xiao Yan. Hi guys, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.